hopping on into game number 9 here. There is a lot to be told, a lot to unfold here, most importantly, because the standings, the story, is getting more and more interesting.
And again, still an 80-plus point lead. So what we saw last game, basically going to have to see 2 more times.
Yes.
And with only 4 games total, this one and then 3 more, the time is ticking as we're going to swing on over Synapse Station. Boyle and Except looking for some room, and a great first pickup there. Able to get that striker burst in. Will Boyle be able to find those long shots that have just harassed so many players?
Now, this has been a contested drop for the last 2 days for Boyo and Except. It's been a back-and-forth story here. They found a little more success coming out early. This time, though, on over to Golden and Fabled Taco. We saw this fight last time be a bit dragged out, right? Took a long time to conclude. Now, though, getting to a bit of a resolution faster here. Taco has to figure out what he's going to do. Trashy on the other side is going to go ahead and save Glace. Now they have themselves a 2v1 situation. That big endgame performance, though, from Trashy and Glace took them well outside of the top 20s on into that 14th bubble position. They currently stand to earn a lot more money than they did when they started the day off.
And again, we talked about how the bus path impacts so many different things. In the top left-hand corner, again, we see Hide and Seek off a southern bus path picking up a knock before one of those sleepier Lighthouse teams are able to touch their feet down. However, we're going to stick to the gas station story here. As Trashy and Glaze are just trying to slow this fight down. They don't want to give Fabled Taco a window, and he's not going to get it. It gets slammed shut in his face, saying, hey, you stay outside. You can watch what happens in the next game, as they're going to continue to try to pick up the pace here. And now it looks like it's not just 3 teams, there's 4.
Because Sinetto lands outside at the bridge just to the north, and it seems like they're rotating in southern a little faster than they were before, and for good reason. Let's talk about it. The reason that will be is because why not? There's more congestion happening here. There's more of a likelihood that the teams are combating one another, so they can come on in, find tags sooner, and possibly get a little bit more success here. Skakuga and, of course, Users FN, though, they've been middling in the tournament, right? Staying somewhere up near the top, not necessarily on that first page, but very much in the conversation for one of those last-minute stretches on into the top 10, maybe even a top 5 if they do really well.
And one thing to note here is Peterbot and Bila haven't necessarily been taking these initial fights at the Collider, but the big difference from what we saw at the very start of yesterday is they're no longer even trying to push for these early game elims, which is fine. They don't have to be taking those risks. They are that far ahead. However, when they're not taking these early fights, they're put under Storm Surge pressure. The only 2 poor games they've had in these finals, and I mean they've had 3 total across all of the set lobbies, have been when they're under Storm Surge pressure.
Storm Surge pressure is important. This is why we continue to break it down, talk about the implications, and also try to relate that and tie it all in as often as possible, because that's the biggest difference, I would say, from normal play, right, casual play and competitive, is that as you get into those later stages of any competitive format or game tournament, you're gonna notice the dynamic changes. And if you're not prepared, if you don't have that experience, it's gonna creep up on you. But here, for Booga and Miro, this drop spot's looking decent, but let's slide on over. A little action here to keep us on in and dialed in. Stretching Commandment, trying to do something big here. The last time they took this fight, though, it did not work out here at the Coney Crossroads, as they've been battling this out, what, for the 9th time now here as we're in Game 9?
Yeah, and I mean, Death and Tabnet played very well yesterday. They were able to be consistent through the first couple of games. Now we'll swing on over. This is a fight we saw resolved in the first game where Glace and Trashy got caught out after being held down by Golden and Fabled Taco, and it looks like that's going to be the case again as Narwhal swims his way on in, and he's going to spear Glace.
What's sad about this is that Trashy and Glace have, again, gone from outside the top 20 on into this 13th position here, especially this game already earning 6 points off of the elimination. So talk about a team that's sort of creeping their way back on into this top 10 conversation to end the tournament today, but now being put on a bit of a hold here for Death and Tabnado. Our team that's going to keep us dialed in for some action right now has a world of problems. Not only is there a team shooting from behind them, they have a very skilled Commandment and Stretch in front of them. Yes, Commandment and Stretch are having a bit of a struggle here in the tournament series, but this is no pushover team.
I mean, like you said, we saw Stretch on social media earlier today saying he's a little bit more reinvigorated, and you can see he's probably going to look to apply that here. Whereas Tabney, Def, they want to get in the conversation, be on that front page. Don't forget, hey, just because you don't win, there is still tens of thousands of dollars on the line. Every team you pass, once you're into those top thresholds, will make you a little bit more on the season. And right now, Commandment and Stretch trying to avoid going down early here, as Stretch basically used all of his HP there, down to just a bare sliver of white.
What a team play. Hey, Stretch, you have the big pot. Don't worry about it. I'm not going to go ahead and use it for myself. I'm going to help you get a little bit more comfortable. On over to the wall taker and Cold here, though. On the other side, once again, this is their favorite position to be in after their early game rotates. They play the bush, they play the bridge for Metal, for Clay, Day and Clicks here, though. It's been a back and forth battle. Clicks finally, though, ends the fight quick. It's a re-engagement onto Sphinx into Quentin. We've seen this battle happen before. Last time it took a long time to close out, though.
And you know for a fact, Clicks right there was boxed. 200. Hey, by the way, the strikers can't hit for 200. He'll still make the calm, though.
Definitely, it's something our pro players love to do. It's that excitement that comes into the fight there. You know, it's hard to kick it. Players are so used to making those call-outs here, but let's jump on over to the Command Cavern. Polarized and Nico, man, that last game, if they could have just done that in day one a couple more times, they would surely be up at the top, but they have managed to find themselves a little bit of a fresh breath of air, if you might say.
But honestly, I love the fact that they are still going and still pushing. We talked about it right at the start, but you can't let one bad day keep you down. Anything can happen in Fortnite. All of these players deserve qualified, push their way all the way through. And the fact, I mean, they caught a ton of slack from a bunch of other players being like, how is that possible? All this stuff. Well, they're still here playing, right? Everybody else who's watching, you're watching for a reason right now, and they're pushing and they're making an impact on these other teams. And that's what you want to see right now. As Elite and Bank, they're getting put through the trials. They're trying to create it. And I mean, Nico and Polarize are playing great. This push is fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. And Elite and Bank were also playing fantastic yesterday. We saw them switch up the pace here, but now starting to slip behind, not finding as much success as before because you have a team like Nico and Polarize all of a sudden just playing very, very well. Look at that. They picked up 44 points that last game. A huge way to go from 0 to hero. All of a sudden, they are on the board here. And a huge knock right in front of them, but a team slides on in. Who is that? Is that Muzz and Avery on the other side? What team just slid on into this conversation here? They're trying to inject themselves. It's Scare Bear and Walkers, a team that absolutely needs it. They were up in the top 5, and then they say, no, 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 we're here to fight. We're going to continue to push on through as well. And we have a big clash here. All of a sudden, everyone has to slow down.
And one thing to note, we are pulling to pretty much the same first zone that we had in game number 1 on today, so game 7 overall. They're going to have a pretty far east rotation. With that being said, with the 4 flops on Nico, they can chill forever. The floppers can really offset a lot of this 1-tick zone. The first 2, when you're in the storm, it only does 1 damage per second. Like, the players are more than capable of being able to offset that pressure, as now we're going to swing on over, and we'll get a nice little temperature check with where our current leaders are, because I'm very interested to see whether or not Storm Surge is going to end up being a problem for them. However, what's not a problem is they're getting a supply drop directly on top of the head, and Peterbot has a shotgun this time.
Yeah, the shotgun that he loves as well, that high fire rate weapon, but also already securing themselves that launch pad from the drop, and now an additional one because, of course, they get this airdrop here. So that is a bonus point on top of a bonus point here. You'd love to see it here. Now with 2 launch pads, it's looking like this might be a game that it'd be impossible to stop them unless the Storm Surge does. And it does look like there are so many players alive right now. Day is going to find another one in the feed there. That is on to Playify. So this time around, Clicks and Day have managed to start to turn online, find a couple elims, find success.
Yeah, in the second zone, again, reveal coming through. Very similar to what we saw in game number 7. I believe we had 2 of these yesterday as well. So the teams should kind of have an idea of where they want to rotate, which duos are around them, what they're capable of doing. But speaking of that, Day and Clicks on the board and still going. Nico finds one onto Walkers, and I'm going to put a little bit of an outside prediction coming in here as we're going to check it out, what Nico is able to do. I think Nico and Polarize push themselves up into at least top 25 today, arguably maybe even top 20. They're playing very well, and I want to see that fire lit under them.
I mean, it already has been lit, right? You have the
yeah.
community pretty much talking down, and then they said, you know what? Let's show up today. Let's show players why we made it this far. And let's be honest, more often than not, the guys talking aren't the dudes in the conversation with y'all in finals. So Nico and Polarized proving that they are some of the best players on the region, and you know what? They deserve to be here. The performances are speaking for themselves.
There was also a reboot that we just heard near them, and it might be something where they're trying to hawk that player out. So we're going to hop on over with Cold and FaZe Walltaker. And you're probably saying, why are you calling him Walltaker? Hey, that's his name. That's what he wants to be called. We know it's scented, but at the end of the day, rep yourself, rep your brand. Your name matters when you're on the big screen and you're on a stage like this. And speaking of being on the big screen, what's up, Cineplex? How you guys doing? I know Adam made the joke. He's like, "Ma, look, I made it. I'm on the big screen," but it's cool. Yeah, one, super cool. Two, one little fact, I won't leak where, but Adam's been on the big screen before. I'll let y'all go do some digging in that regard. But
oh no,
we see Tabney pick up Bizzle and Diego. A nice little double for him there.
Great double for them there. They're going to start racking up some extra points here. Death and Tabney have started to make themselves well heard in this game. Number 9 here now. Again, this game will officially mark the just about halfway point of the Day 2 finals here for us. There's 12 games of course Fortnite that happened over the last 48 hours or so. But in the feet, Scare Bear gets fully taken out now by Banks, so that's going to be the conclusion of Walkers and Scare Bear once again. It seems like them going back into the command cavern isn't working today. Yesterday they were kind of leaving the drop spot and playing outside of it and finding more success.
But this is something we see a lot of when we get these eastern pulls, that you get kind of those trickling fights on the western side of the map. So we're going to swing on over with Agers and Kanata as they're trying to go through. And I would call Kanata by whatever name that is there, but I speak absolutely no Asiatic languages whatsoever. I couldn't even tell you where those characters are from. So as we come through, we see Tabs picking up Joji, but Pamstyle going to return the favor, getting the confirmation onto Macwood. Joji and Rokane having a hard time staying consistent going up, but the individual efforts have been what's carried them through.
Yeah, and this is an important moment for them. It does seem like they've lost their vehicle, which is what honestly makes their drop spot exceptional. And we have such a bad spot to be in. 123 damage below the surge here. 18 players have to get eliminated. These tags, crucial to their success right now. Couple being made, but 40 seconds until the wrath of the Storm Surge truly turns on, begins to damage them. Another team is the 5th place team of Rokane and Joji. As you can see, this great 2-shot here. They are right next to each other, both sides on the west, right? The western portion of the bubble. They will ultimately start looking at one another soon. That could be Kanata. For all you know, they're shooting on in.
Yeah, and you don't want to be taking chip damage like that if you're going to then be under pressure from the Storm Surge. Rokane and Joji, we did see Joji get knocked, but he was able to get picked up. So they've already invested a decent amount of heals to get him back up to this effective HP. And in 5 seconds, Storm Surge is going to turn on. They're going to get wall-to-wall with Mason and Jackson and try and push this fight.
And that's a lot of damage they're going to have to find here. Mason and Jackson are no pushovers when it comes to these box fights here. These are teams that are resilient. They've been in these early game scrappy battles before. And you know what? They put the punishment down. They understand all the techniques, wait for the pre-fires and everything in between. Rokane and Joji start to fire back though. Great tags there onto Do on the side, making a cold peek, but that might be the biggest mistake there. Rokane not hitting the headshots on that Acorn and edgy peak right there. It could spell disaster for them now. Meanwhile, on the high ground, Kanata and Agers was the team looking down. They have that mountain peak. So when the fight breaks out here, when the new builds come through, you know they're gonna start lasering in as well.
Players are dropping like flies. This is that 25 damage every 5 seconds. Joji finds a monstrous shot, but nearly at the cost of his entire HP.
He
and
gets
it just wasn't quite enough.
My God.
Just barely able to get the mini off, but he has to find another shot right now because the Storm Surge is going to come through and he gets picked up. If you get hit by Storm Surge, you don't have enough time to then pop that big pot. It takes 5 seconds going out, and the huge shotgun shot was not enough. That was the threshold you talked about as we swing on over. They got 2nd place in the last FNCS finals, but right now Spade and Chim under the pressure, under the caution. A great, absolutely great armored wall slammed down on that ramp, trying to alleviate some of it. But Jeff and Oliver say, it's okay, we'll just go around. We'll find the side door.
They're not going to let that elimination walk free. They take him down. It's enough to get them above the surge for now. And now that leaves one single team below the surge here, getting hit by those lightning bolts. Everyone else kind of gets a moment to breathe, but that cost a lobby so much health. So many of our top teams fall in there, and we're going to see that wear and tear start to take place now in Game 9.
But somebody I didn't see there was Peter, Bot, and Byla, but somebody I want to see is Vivid. What you got for us?
Just wanted to quickly talk about how good Bugha and Miro really are in these early game rotations. Now, we actually just saw Joji and Rokane go down the Storm Surge, unfortunately, but they were on the edge of the zone, and they actually landed north of Bugha and Miro. But Bugha and Miro are way ahead of the lobby here. They make this rotation from all the way Chonker Speedway very, very early on, and effectively, they can just walk on foot all the way up to Sanctuary, which is effectively in the middle of the zone now. That's why they are so good.
I mean, so good is honestly a little bit of an understatement, but hold the phone here as Vila is down. So we talk about adversity. We talk about how there needs to be a little bit of a slip and a fall and a stumble from our first place team, and unfortunately that seems to be the case. However, with that being said, if there is a solo I want in this position based off of what has happened this season, it's Peterbot.
Peterbot definitely has that clutch potential, but if you're our number 2 and 3 teams, Bugha, Miro, Sentin, Cold, this is an opportunity of a lifetime here that could potentially present itself. Now, what you're noticing, Peterbot is what could be the worst position. He's in a valley. He is pinched between 2 teams, maybe, no, honestly, 4, about 4 teams here. They can look down, they can lobby, focus him, and they saw him rotate in as a solo. Luckily, though, they're focusing on players outside the zone, so the attention's not on him.
Because he's able to break line of sight. Something Peterbot does incredibly well is he uses the natural geography. But one thing to note here, once we actually get a look, take a peek in the bottom right-hand corner. You see how many teams are on that western side. It's something we talked about earlier, how we just keep going east, and this is actually one of the hardest zones to rotate through. As we're going over the islands that are to the east of the Sanctuary, there are so few viable land places to end up going, and you don't want to put yourself over water. So there's basically the southern island, and then a little bit of real estate on the northern part, but Bugha ends up getting the confirmation there onto Bryce G. As you can see, Walltaker and Cold are trying to just scoot in and find a little bit of these oases, try and find a little bit of room as we swing on over to my prediction, Luminosity Gaming, Jumper, Dignitas Duke.
2nd, 3rd, 4th are still alive. There's opportunity here for that gap to be closed. Any teams within the top 10 can start fighting their way towards that top 5 right now. Nothing is off the table as we have seen the story change here in day number 2. For Duke and Jamper, though, a lot to fight for. This Storm Surge, oh man, it cost them a lot. You can see there's only bandages in play. You have Skittles down low here. They have to make a rotate, but they know there's a team lurking inside that cone. And he's saying, hey man, what are you doing? Why aren't you moving? They need to wait for a second.
Yeah, but don't forget, as soon as you get to this 4th zone, this is 5 ticks. So yeah, you might think, oh, a bandage is great. You're not actually gaining any HP first, so they're gonna try and recycle the pad, but a high pad in this circumstance, 2 bullets will end up taking out Duke. We've seen them do this high pad a couple times and just pray that nobody looks their direction. That's gonna be the case. And instead, he actually looks right in Bucky's direction, knocks on the door, says, hello, anybody home?
What's crazy is that could be the refresher that they needed this game, but they do not fully commit there. Instead, they waited out. They have this high ground essentially granted to them. And this zone is just insane. You have a huge pocket of players in the northwest, an even bigger one down at the southwest as well. And the landmass is in play towards that south. So the likelihood of the zone going there is pretty up there, but it will only tell in a couple seconds. First, though, Chimp has to survive this now because these tags, he's hitting them, but it's not enough.
Half in, half out is almost guaranteed to pull to the south. There is a very slight chance it goes to that little northern bit, but
oh my gosh,
that's like a 1% pull. That is ridiculous.
And this is what we call a nightmare zone. This is what nightmares are fueled on right here. Chimp, he's like, oh great, I got the zone, but
one shot,
dude, how are you gonna survive this? He's below the zone. He gets taken out. That's free loot there, and honestly, Threats and Rise will be the first to claim it as they slide on over to that side. Literally, 0 players are in the zone.
Yeah, not a single one in Threats and Rise. They're the yellow triangles in the bottom right-hand corner. They're getting in and saying, all right, let's just get some space and make everyone rotate through us. See, Polo ends up picking up Nico there. We will have Storm Surge turned off as we have 50 players, almost in the cascading placement point of 27. But this is going to test these duos. How well have you drilled these water zones? What resources do you have available to you? Because you basically have to have fantastic timing or even better resources when it comes to using the map and using the launch pad. And Peterbot, somebody who does that incredibly well. Recycling somebody else's pad, and all he wants to do is stay up, and he's going to keep hunting for these pads.
I love this.
Hunting for the pads, look for Elim.
I love that he sits around there, does some tags. If the zone takes him out, he will find some placement points, and Elim's off of that as well. He sees a duo to the side, thinks about it, but no. Instead, now has to play for position. He needs a refresher, but mistakes may have been made. He has to reload his weapon now, so he could be regretting it here as he could not take advantage of the chaos there and landing on a teammate. Instead, he says, okay, time to change layer here. There's targets all around him, but he has to get ready for the fight.
He's getting dropped down.
Oh, no.
Enough builds, only 2 builds. He's going to be forced right in the face, and that's the biggest thing. When you have those drum shotguns, yes, they're super effective, but it's an attrition weapon. You have to trade your HP pool out for the higher rate of fire, and he just didn't have it, not having the time to even pop the minis. So now, Peterbot and Bila, yes, they were able to pick up, I think it was, what, maybe 6, 7 placement points? Dignitas Miro, Sentinels Booga, still up on their feet.
They fell in 23rd place there or somewhere about, so it's okay, but it's not great. It allows teams like Miro and Booga to go ahead and jump on in, vault themselves, continued into that conversation. But I want to know, where are the others? Where's Cold? Is he still in play right now? Where is Ager's duo? Are they still in play right now? Those are the teams that stand to benefit from the #1 duo going down already here so early. But take a look. Out comes the rotates.
Yeah, and here we are hopping on board here. Walltaker Cold looking for some room. And honestly, I'm not sure I've seen this zone this season, whether watching all the cash cups and the scrims. There is no viable land in play. The percentage to pull this is ridiculous, and the players, Slacks and Clarity, are trying to cut to the outside. Everyone else taking to the sky, but they're so open, everyone is focused on rotating. There's very few exchanges going out, which means the players who get to the front of the zone first and can about face are going to have an utter buffet of eliminations to be able to pick up.
This is NA East Finals, ladies and gentlemen. This is where things start to get very interesting for us. It's endgame. It's high ground plays. It's teams playing for their first ever victory royale in a final stage setting. These type of moments will change the mentality of our pros forever. A team like Polo and Shoney, first time showing up in a finals. Can they secure a win? Yes, they can. And if they do, that's the confidence booster for the year to set things up. But right now, back into the conversation here. Walltaker by himself, still holding on to that placement point. He has now jumped up, though. He's gone from 202 to 219. Can he get on the wall? No! He gets taken out there. Day slides in, clicks, follows up, and down he goes, kicking down the door. 4 Elans for them. Miro and Booga, however, are still alive here now. Down goes Miro. Booga has to clutch this up. He turns back. He wants to take the fight. A solo slides in. Who was that? He's out of there.
Trying to find some spots, but no more builds for Booga. And notice, hey, full water zone to full water zone. Yeah, there's a little bit of land in between, but what are you gonna do once you get there if you don't have builds? You see Booga trying to check the backside of the zone, trying to see if there's anything there. He finds some flops, finds some splashes to be able to get some room. Up on the high ground, Polo, Shonyi trying to just run this out, push themselves up the leaderboard, but right now, the room is given for the World Cup solo champion to put his statement on it. He needs to find a refresh on the backside of the zone. That was his very last build to just cover the top. He's trying to find someone on the backside, and he goes down in 13th.
To the hands of Larson there, who slides on up, picks up those points. Now on over to our #6 position team, Pamsto and Fatch here. They started this game at around 11th. They jumped their way on up into this conversation, as has Edgy and Acorn. A huge shot there. Love the pre-fires. That is what it is all about right there. Armored walls get slammed down though, so things are gonna start slowing down. Nexi and Narwhal find themselves in an endgame already at 5 eliminations here. They're starting to rocket their way on up. These are big opportunities now for teams to go ahead and get into these conversations. And remember, you want to do well no matter who you are, because there is so much money on the line. This is it. It's all or nothing for Tabne. He is just trying to clutch up right now. A great game for him, puts him around 6. Polo and Shoney, though, they are not looking to jump down, not just yet. As I say that, though, he hops in and finds a great elimination there onto Rise. Meanwhile, Polo's like, hold up, I'll sit back. Thanks for the refresher there. You can give me some of that loot. We'll work with that.
Right now, Fatch, Pamstel, they're trying to work on the low ground while Shonyi and Polo are up on the high ground. You can find some great shots coming out from Fatch. The French Canadians trying to push right to the top 5.
Oh.
He finds an angle. Give me them toes, he said. Fatch cuts them down like they're Achilles, not dipped in the river Styx. As you can see, Nexi finding some room. Nexi and Narwhal, they're making them push themselves. 5 eliminations, plenty of control going through, and we're pulling all the way back over water. Forget what I said about viable land. I'm just wrong. We got water zones all day here in the east.
It's definitely opportunity right here and now. Fatch and Pam here trying to get active. I like what I'm seeing here, Sundown. I mean, it's going to get a little crazy. Who's going to clutch up?
They're trying to find the shots here. Nexi ends up going down. Thatch gets traded out himself. Pamso, he wants to find the refreshes. Polo dips in, and Pamso gets the gift from above. And you see him timing, waiting to make sure he gets the maximum for the siphon. And he goes straight up, recognizing it's a 1v1. Pamso, the French-Canadian, he says, whoa, 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 whoa. 2-horse race? No, let's make it a 4-horse race. Don't forget about me. I predicted them the entire time last season, and maybe I was just a season late, but the newcomer, Shawnee, trying to do something about it, but what he does is run out of builds, and all of a sudden, the French-Canadians, they're knocking on the door as well, saying, hey, you got room up there for me? It looks pretty cozy.
You can't help but root for Pamso and Thatch. You've seen all the content pieces really starting to blossom on who Pamso and Thatch are. They're a duo that play with one another. They're a duo that believe in one another. A low ground victory is no easy feature. What a great win coming out of Game 9.